And also, I mentioned potentially, Bill, could be a milestone night for Max Scherzer. Could get career victory number 200. I mean, and he's an OG. I mean, he's an old dog, does it the old school way, and he's so much fun to watch with all the intensity that Max brings.
Well, think about Max, and we've seen what he's been able to do during his career. We've seen what he's been able to do in the postseason, willingness to take the baseball and go out there and give it everything that he has. And look, when he's right, there could be a lot of guys that you might say might be your number one starter. If he's right, though, he's right in the list with them. I mean, he's got a teammate in Jacob deGrom that I certainly think we could throw his name out there. But if Max is right and everything's feeling nice and easy for him and everything, I might pick him over everybody else.
Well, I mean, when I came in today and I actually saw the research, because I didn't actually realize he was going for 200.
Right.
When it was, he could get 200 before 100 losses, and you have Pedro, Juan Marichal, Whitey Ford, Lefty Grove, Grover Cleveland, Alexander. I mean,
those are pretty big names.
When you're on that kind of a list, when you're on that kind of a list, like, you've done some things right.
I always say, when they're black and white photos on the graphics, then you are definitely, you transcend eras. And Alex, I mean, obviously, what's awesome about, I mean, from your point of view, you've caught him more than anybody else. I mean, so you know this guy better than anybody else in terms of catchers here. Just take us through Max's elevation as a catcher throughout his career. Yeah,
well, I get the chance to actually see him progress from a guy with really good stuff to the pitcher he is now, and just kind of see how that maturation started. And I mean, we know him. Coming up, he had a great fastball, obviously, and you know, here with kind of that low three-quarter arm angle, kind of exploding up in the zone. One of the heaviest fastballs I ever caught in my career. I mean, it gets on you and it feels heavy to the glove. To go with that, he had the good slider, away to right-handers, and he dominated right-handers for pretty much all of his entire career because of that pitch as well. But one of his best pitch that he's always had is this changeup, and it's the Bugs Bunny changeup. Just kind of pulls the string on you, and it almost looks like it stops in midair before it gets to the pitch, or it gets to the plate. Now, for me, though, it was this curveball. This kind of started him, you know, trying to figure things out as a pitcher, something breaking into a lefty, and that was something we had talked about in Detroit, and he was able to incorporate it. Then he started bringing out this cutter in around 2016, and he really kind of took off. And I remember actually having a conversation with him when I was with the White Sox in 16 when he started throwing that cutter. Okay. And he's like, hey, I'm starting to throw this cutter now. You have no shot. And he was right, because when I faced him, I had no shot. And it was just something to the left-handed hitter, because early in his career, fastball changeup, primarily to lefties, and lefties didn't really have to worry about anything breaking in. He didn't really have a feel for the slider there. Once he started throwing that curveball and that cutter, getting a feel for it to throw it to lefties, it opened everything up to him, and now he throws any pitch at any count.
Let me ask you a question, because you got him from Arizona. And the idea of what we see with Mad Max, storming the mound. Even the other day when the grounds crew was out there on the mound fixing it for him, it looked like he was storming them, and he might have dusted one of them off if they were standing in the batter's box. How early was it when you saw him in spring training? Because I'm assuming you got him mid-year.
It was in the off season, right after the 09 season going into 2010.
Right, so spring training shows up, and you see this, you know, because I think as a pitcher looks, kind of what they look like, right? When you got this dude, he's long limbs and everything else. It might be a little unconventional, but how long did it take you in spring training to catch him, to say, okay, this dude might be a little bit different than some other folks?
Well, it was, I mean, you could tell right off the bat, he was a dude. He was a guy. His stuff was incredible. He's always had that. I mean, Arizona, you know, obviously thought so, being a first-round pick, right. But, you know, they thought he may not last because of his mechanics, the way he threw, and to a lot of the things you were talking about. And he proved everybody wrong in that aspect. But, I mean, you knew he could be a guy. Now, it wasn't always roses, you know, for him going into that first year in Detroit. In 2010, actually, a lot of people don't forget that he actually got sent down. He was struggling a bit, had a few bad starts, got sent down. But to his credit, like, he knew exactly what he needed to fix mechanically in order to get back to being consistent with his delivery and his release point. I think he went down there, if I remember correctly, he was down there for like 2 starts, punched out like 17, felt great. His first start back, punched out 14 in a win. And, like, I mean, he got it back.
Yeah.
But from that point on, it was almost like with each start leading up to his first Cy Young in 13, he just got better and better and better and knew himself better and better with each start out there.
And Bill, just real quick too, I mean, Scherzer just turned 38. So Scherzer and Verlander's 39, they're really kind of in a unique situation compared to most pitchers, because usually when pitchers get that old and they're still pitching, the velocity's not there, so they have to become different pitchers. Not Max. I mean, he's still basically the same guy.
Well, I think when Alex was talking about it, he thought maybe his best pitch is that changeup. I still think Max, whether a lefty has to honor something coming in or the righty worried about something going away, I think if he was out there, he could still pitch and win with the fastball changeup combination. Yeah. Because what he does in that fastball changeup combination, the changeup's got a little bit of fade to it, dying, and he rushes the heater up on you. So he can actually go up, down, add, subtract on you with 2 pitches. Probably as well as anybody in the game. And if you actually refined maybe the location on that, he doesn't have to, though, because I think he can throw pretty much in this kind of a plane with 2 pitches and end up being dominating. The idea is, and I'm pretty sure with this, because he does have that 4-pitch mix, how much of that conversation did you have with him prior, saying, okay, this is what we're doing prior to the game? And was there a game that maybe stood out to you where something 2 innings in, you might have sat down next to him and goes, okay, we ain't doing that. I feel this better, and this is what I'm going to do, and we're going to go from that way.
Yeah, well, the conversations we'd have before the game, I mean, he's actually very analytical in his approach, in his game planning. But when he's out there, he's got an old school kind of mentality to where he still wants to put that hitter in the rocking chair, back and forth, away, in, to get you out away. And he is not afraid to deviate from any of that. And there's constant conversations in between the inning. And he is not afraid to, say, okay, look, we can't really use that today because it's not working today. Or, this guy's on it. He's making the adjustment to what we think he can't hit. We got to go to something else. And, the good thing about me and him is we had a chance to work a lot together. So if there was something that I saw, he would trust my feedback. And then if there was something that he was seeing and I kept going to kind of the game plan he wanted to change, he'd make sure to let you know about it as well.
And a career ERA just over 3 with you behind the plate for Max Scherzer. More on Scherzer, but let's check in now. NTT Ballpark Cam taking us down to the Bronx.